Welcome back. This is What's Working Now. Specifically, we are in a series called The Entrepreneur's Edge. How can you get an edge in business? And I'm going to be showing you the mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets that you need to do this. My name is Katie Richardson. I'm an executive business coach. I've been doing this for 8+ years. And for 8 years before that, I was building a multimillion-dollar international business alongside my husband while having 4 children. When you build a business and life that has so much complexity like that, it's really dynamic. And life and business can very quickly become overwhelming. And I feel very passionate about giving you the tools that you need to quickly step out of overwhelm so that you can go do the things that you feel called to do without losing your integrity, without losing your family. To me, this is what it's all about. You know, there was a time when building a significant business was enough for somebody, right? That was in its own kind of meaningful enough. And I really feel like we live in a day and a time when we're capable of more, and that has us wanting more. A significant business, while having your life fall apart, isn't really what's interesting to people anymore. And I think there's good reason for that. So I feel very fortunate to have learned some really powerful lessons in building my own business. And then after 8+ years of helping other people build significant businesses. So I feel this responsibility to teach you the principles that will empower you to build this beautiful, dynamic, multidimensional business and life. So how can we specifically get into the details of this today? I want to share with you what I discovered as I started taking on clients, almost not even knowing what I was getting into. So in 2017, we got an offer on our physical products company that we couldn't refuse. And so we ended up exiting the majority of the business. And that meant my time was now freed up to do something else. And I really did feel called to be a business coach. I didn't feel qualified. I felt really like I didn't have the authority, but I could not deny the fact that something was pulling me in this direction. So really not even knowing what my own systems or processes necessarily were, I hung up my shingles, so to speak, and I just said, hey, I've been able to do some incredible things. I think maybe I could help you too. So people very quickly start hiring me as their business coach. And it was interesting because I could hop on the phone with them. They would tell me the very timely, urgent need in front of them, kind of what this question or opportunity was that was in front of them. And I was able to kind of walk them through a series of questions. And very quickly, we could just together discover the answer. And, you know, as we met week after week after week, this process of problem solving and creating solutions and developing a strategy around what it is that you envision for your company, what started to happen over time is I started to notice something. And that was this individual who had hired me that I had started working with. I started to notice that they had a different way of operating. Their way of operating was different than my way of operating. And that wasn't to say that it was bad or wrong, but what I could see over all of our calls was as they would come to me, their way of operating was not getting them what they wanted. And oftentimes it was creating friction and drag. It wasn't sustainable. And it was maybe solving for something often in the business, but there was this huge downside in their personal life. Their way of operating had them hustling. Their way of operating had them working 80, 90, sometimes up to 120 hours a week. Their way of operating had them, to their great disappointment, it had them deprioritizing maybe their spouse or their kids, friends, family members. Their way of operating had them constantly having to put out fires. And I started to notice that that was quite normal. And it actually took me back to the early stages of my business. And it had me seeing how there was this day in particular, I totally remember the day, where, the sun's going down. I'm feeling like, okay, I made it through the day, but I'm already starting to feel the weight of the next day, right? You're sitting at your desk, you're looking through your emails, you're looking at your messages, you're looking at all of the work that needs to get done in a short amount of time and you don't have the time to make those things happen, right? And you start feeling the weight of the world on your chest, on your shoulders. And then you reflect back on the day, how you dropped the ball with your spouse, or you got angry and upset and there's tension there. And maybe you didn't have patience for your son or your daughter who just wanted to ask you a question, but it really triggered something in you. And so you were short with them, and you see how you're not getting enough sleep. You're not having the energy that you want and need. And yet it's like the business is just ruthless, and it's never easing up. For me at that time, it was a global business. So when the sun went down, that meant Asia was coming online. That meant there were emails that needed to be responded to. There was direction that needed to be given. There was feedback. There was an invoice that needed to be sent. There was a problem that needed to be solved. Maybe there was a shipment stuck in customs. It was never ending. There was so much. And on this one day in particular, I'm just feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. Like as I walk forward into the future and I look back, I can already start to see the regret that I'm going to feel one day. And I hate it. I don't want that. And I'm, as a designer, like trying to figure out how to remove that. How can I still have this business that I like and love? And develop strong, beautiful relationship with my spouse, with my kids, with God. And it just feels like it's all incompatible. It's not working. And I don't know what to do. Because I'd been looking through business books, magazines. This was like 2011, 2012. So podcasts weren't really even online. I think I maybe was listening to Tim Ferriss at the time. I certainly had read the 4-Hour Workweek. But it just felt like I couldn't figure out the model. What was the model for how to sustain this complexity? And it wasn't obvious. And as I am trying to problem solve and I'm looking for solutions, I'm even talking to God, and I'm saying, like, I've given it my best shot. I felt inspired to do this. There've been a lot of things that have come together and been quite miraculous, and it just doesn't feel sustainable. So what do I need to do here? Like, how do I find a way forward where I don't regret this? And I have this thought that feels like it comes from somebody wiser than me. And the first thing that I see is, Katie, what you want is possible. It is possible. Even though you don't see it in books and magazines, it is possible. But almost nobody's figured it out. And the truth is, you're not who you need to be. So, creation. While you might not see this entrepreneur who's capable of this very complex life, you can go create that person. So at that point, my creative juices start exploding. Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high-performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. And if you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.KatieRichardson. katie.com/case study. And the cool thing is we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. Up until this point, I was trying to be a businesswoman and I was modeling what I had seen around me. And it was this hustle, hustle, grind, sleep when you're dead mentality. And maybe that is required to start a business. It might be, but it is not sustainable. So once the business is in motion and you have customers, you have products, and you're growing, that way of operating will destroy you. And I could see it. I knew it. And it was terrifying. So in this moment where I hear the voice tell me I'm not who I need to be, like that's kind of, I don't know, disappointing, embarrassing. I also saw the upside of that, which is I can create the person who's capable of this really dynamic life. What I was experiencing, the pain and the frustration and the friction, the lack of sleep, the tension in the marriage, that was all normal. And in that moment, I realized that maybe I'm not normal because it seems to be okay for everybody else to live life that way. It's not okay with me. It's just not working. So suddenly I had something to aim at, which was I want to be not normal. I want to be the not normal entrepreneur who is crushing it and doing big business contracts with major retailers and then at her son's soccer game on the weekends. Like that's who I want to be. I want to be the entrepreneur who is developing a relationship with God while crushing it in business. I want to be the entrepreneur who has ridiculous amounts of energy and is lit up by the business. And I don't want to be the entrepreneur who's falling asleep Sunday night, dreading Monday, feeling like, I don't know if I can go into the office and face the team. So this ability to start seeing that what I want is not normal, and that if I can become a not normal entrepreneur, that then maybe allows me to continue building this amazing business, but do it in a way where I am in integrity with myself. I'm no longer at war with myself. And I am building a life that I love, that I'm proud of, that's creating incredible opportunities for my family, that is strengthening my relationship with God. What would that look like? Again, it wasn't what I was seeing kind of in this sea of entrepreneurs, right? Those destructive, friction, frustrating things that I was experiencing, they were all normal. And I, for the first time, had clarity that I want to be not normal. If that is you, then I'm going to show you in next week's episode what you need to do to be not normal you. Where you have the not normal family, you have the not normal physiology, you have the not normal spirituality, not normal finances, not normal business, not normal brand, not normal life. This is a philosophy that we have lived by since that time. And what's exciting is I'm going to show you how you can create this in your life. You don't have to have had somebody who's done exactly what you want before you in order for you to create it. You just need to know the parameters. I'm a product designer, and one of the skills that I've developed is creating something out of nothing. And there is a process to that. And I'm going to show you some of that. It comes from my design thinking, which I have both developed through university. And then as a product designer, I've developed it. As a business owner, I've developed it. And as a coach, I've developed it even further. And if you can understand this process of creating something out of nothing, even a person who maybe hasn't existed in your life, and I can show you how to create that person into being. And it's beautiful. It's exciting. And, this is potentially the greatest lever you could ever pull in your life. And so I'm really excited to show you the number one lever that when you pull this lever, this not normal person comes into being, comes into your life, and helps you build an exceptional business and life. So I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the What's Working Now podcast. If you found today's episode to be interesting, be sure to share this with a friend. And if you are looking to level up your organization as a CEO, I'm going to invite you to join the Now newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter. I send it out on Fridays. I tell personal stories, talk about what it's like to build a significant business while raising a family, homeschooling kids. And I even share case studies, very timely, relevant situations where I go into detail how I am helping entrepreneurs navigate, lead, and build incredible organizations. You can get all of that behind the scenes information and more inside the Now newsletter. I've got a link to it right now in the show notes, and I will see you in the next episode.